is this chassis is technically a U4 chassis. You can see how it has a lot of clearance for long travel suspension. Okay, amigos, we've been talking about this, and now we're finally going to start. This is the segment we're going to call CARcass. And I am going cold at this. This is going to be kind of the pilot program for this. And essentially what it's going to be is I'm going to be talking about, I guess they would be kind of like a renovation of the RCs that we've got. And then we're going to be recording it at the same time, so it's going to live on YouTube unedited, just straight up to YouTube. So you can go and see what I'm talking about. And these will probably be posted on Weld Wednesdays because the next couple projects I have are all kind of weld projects. I don't have a particular order. So basically the idea behind it is that we're going to be resurrecting some of the old RCs, and I've talked about that in previous segments. We resurrected our Gen 8, we resurrected our Charisma, and now we're going through some of the element stuff that we kind of had laying around that we're getting ready to go. So this is part Sendero SE, part another U4 truck that we had, and then it has some new frame rails from Scale Metal Supplies that I prototyped, and I didn't design these, but I cut them in-house, and I'm putting together on this project. So I just trying it out for the first time. I don't think it's to market yet. We've been talking about it, so I won't share all the details about that. But so basically what we're going to try to do is that we're starting to do that video kind of series where we're out doing slow crawls and trail crawls at the same place, just finding new lines and seeing how the different trucks react. And eventually it will have like small competitions out there. Not competitions, but like, for instance, between me and my son, or maybe me and a friend, and we'll go and pick those videos and do that. Those are going to be small. It's a long video, but I'm basically chopping it up into, like, say I have 30 minutes of video, I'm going to chop it up into like 5 to 7 minute pieces so we can just watch it and go through it. Not a whole lot of talking, just good vibe music and just crawling. So the idea is that I wanted to take a different truck out every time that I went so that it wouldn't be stale, and that I'd have kind of like these different trucks going, and people would remember them by their identity and things like that. So this truck that we're going to work on today is called Jericho. Jericho is a truck that I've had this body. It was designed to be on a monster truck, and then actually no, it was designed to be a U4 truck, kind of like a bouncer, and then it was going to be a monster truck, and then it just sat for a year, and now it's going to be, I didn't design the body, but I modified it, but now it's going to be like a C3 crawler trail truck. And so this chassis that I have on, like I said, it's kind of like a secret scroll chassis. I'll talk more about it when I know I have the full green light and it's public. But we talked, I think Andre posted a video about shock angle and where to kind of figure out where that is. So the two things that we're going to talk about today are shock angle, like how to mount those, and I'm going to do my best to kind of give you an easy idea of how to do that. And then also I'm going to do some, like, these aren't technically boat sides, but I'm going to call them boat sides. I'm basically going to take measurements and draw up how I want this to come out so that it will come out flush to the edge of the truck and then wrap a little bit so it'll protect this edge. It's going to be a lot of measurements, and it's not going to be perfect, so it's probably actually only going to cover maybe that much, but basically all I want it to do is I want it to locate the body centered, and then I also want it to house, a shelf for my electronics, keep it down low. So the idea of this truck is this chassis is technically a U4 chassis. You can see how it has a lot of clearance for long travel suspension. And it can also take the IFS2, the standard straight axle with the servo mounts on top, and the what's it called? So IFS2, servo and axle. So it'll also do servo and axle. So the first thing, obviously, is to get your wheelbase set. And this one's a monster. So we're measuring in at 14 inches or so. Definitely a class 3, kind of almost like a rift length. And so what I want to do is I want to get the lowest position of what I think is going to be our lowest ride height. And this is kind of tough because you don't want to overdo it, because like right now it's pretty low, but I don't think that would be a fully compressed, right? But I don't think I want it to be that low. I think I want it to be a little bit higher than that. So I'm going to put this 1, 2, 3 block underneath it. And what this will do is this will, get my chassis sitting at level on the center part of the chassis. So basically what I did is I put it right underneath the center skid, and now I've got a horizon line on my chassis. So if I think that this is going to be bottom out, right, the bottom out part of the chassis, what I'm going to do is I'm going to compress this shock completely. I'll do it on this side. I'm going to compress the shock completely, and then that's going to be like where the hole would be for my shock mount. Now, the critical dimension that I'm going to have is I'm going to have the dimension from the top of the chassis plate to the center hole. That's going to be the critical dimension. Obviously, if I'm doing it, you're going to want to mirror either side. And I'm leaning these back a little bit. So you can't see right now if you're listening to the podcast, but go check it out on YouTube. I'm going to try to make the hole right above the back hole of the servo plate mount. In this particular vehicle, so you can see it's the furthest back hole in the chassis. I'm going to say my back hole is going to be right there, and then I'm going to measure up from the plate up to where the hole is going to be, and that's going to be my dimension. I'm actually going to, a tape measure is going to be hard, so I'm going to walk away and I'm going to grab a straight edge if I have one. Let's see. There's a big one. I want the small straight edge. And straight edge is just another name for a ruler. All I can find are my big ones. Actually, you know what? I bet you there's one in the box behind me. This is a relatively new toolbox. Not a new toolbox, but new to us. We inherited it, and we're the people that are the most handy, and it came with a few tools, so awesome. Okay, so I'm going to compress the shock all the way down, and I'm going to put my straight edge on it, and it looks like I want to be at, I'm going to call it 7/8. No. Yeah, I'm going to call it 7/8 right over that hole. So I'm going to write that down. 7/8 over back screw. And you'll see why I'm doing this, because I'm going to put it on the computer and draw it so I can cut it out. Now, I know that's going to be 7/8 over, so I've got to get this shock angle somewhat close so it'll be kind of in the same neighborhood. And so that's what I'm the reference. So I'm going to push this all the way down like we just talked about. I'm trying not to put any pressure on the chassis so the chassis doesn't move, just on the shock. And I am here at, I'm going to call it 1.25 inches above the back hole. Let's try this again. Or the front hole of the gatekeeper suspension. Let's try this one more time. I think it's actually a little bit less than that. And you got to get down low when you're looking at this. Actually, I'm going to call it 1 inch straight above. So I'm going to mark that at front, rear, 1 inch, front hole. Okay, so we know we've got that squared away. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to measure how far out these boat sides. So these are the gatekeeper plates, or any of the elements that have trailing arms. These are the stock plates for that. We don't have trailing arms, we're doing links. So that's going to be a little different. And we don't need all the stuff in there. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the body upside down in position to where I want the front bumper to line up, and I'm going to try to center this. So for video reference, it's kind of like this, and I'm centering it on the chassis plate. And so I'm scooting that as far forward as I want. So I just want the holes to kind of be over that. It's not super critical at this point, but it will be critical later. So, okay, so now I got that. I'm going to use my straight edge again and eyeball it this time. And I'm going to eyeball it off of, the dog's going crazy, I think the neighbor's up. So I'm going to eyeball it, and I'm going to say I'm going to go a little short. So I'm going to say it is, let's see, it's hard to see in here. 1.5 inches is a little too long. I'm going to go with, let's see, I'm going to go 1 5/8 inches, because I've got to remember that I'm coming to the outside and I'm folding the piece over. So I'm going to say it's 1 5/8 inches. On the right boat side. 1 5/8. So I'm going to draw my picture here. And I'm going to say this dimension is 1 5/8 inches. And then I want the lip to be 1/4 inch lip. Actually, I probably want it to be closer to 5/16. So we're going to go 5/16 lip, because I'm going to put some lightning holes in it. So that lip's going to be the part that wraps around here. Now, this is the part that gets kind of crazy. So the overall width. So if I went at a 45, that would get me pretty good coverage. So I'm going to put 45-degree angle. And I think that's it. And that'll get me good coverage on that. So we're going to go in and draw those, and then I'm going to cut them later, and then we're going to reestablish all that kind of stuff. So let's jump into the office and let's draw those real quick, and we'll go from there.